In May of this year, South Korean police reached a conclusion that should worry anyone who has ever believed a screenshot. The evidence at the center of the country's biggest entertainment controversy, they said, had been generated. Not exaggerated, not taken out of context, generated. A voice recording produced with generative artificial intelligence and messaging screenshots that had been edited to change who appeared to be speaking. This is the story of how that was established, what happened to the man who published it, and why the part that matters is not the accusation at all. It is the forensics. First, the boundaries of this episode, because they matter more than usual. Kim Soo Hyun is one of the most recognizable actors in Korea. In early 2025, a YouTube channel called Garosero Research Institute, run by Kim Sae Ron, published material it presented as evidence about his private life. That underlying allegation is not what this episode covers, and there's a reason for that. It concerns a young actress, Kim Sae Ron, who died in February of 2025, and who would have been a minor during the period the published material referred to. She cannot answer any of it. Repeating a claim in order to examine it still spreads the claim. So this episode does not restate what was alleged. It follows only what investigators were able to establish about the material itself. So, the timeline in order. The material was published, and it moved fast. Advertisers dropped him. Broadcasters distanced themselves. Within weeks, the commercial consequences were total, which is worth holding on to, because those consequences arrived long before anyone had examined whether the evidence was real. Then, investigators examined it. In May of 2026, the Seoul Gangnam police station applied for an arrest warrant. Police stated that generative artificial intelligence had been used to manipulate and fabricate a false voice recording, and that messaging screenshots had been edited so that the sender appeared to be Kim Soo Hyun. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office then sought a warrant on charges of defamation and violation of the Act on Special Cases Concerning the Punishment of Sexual Crimes. On the 26th of May, the court approved it. The stated reasoning was risk of flight and risk of destruction of evidence. Kim Sae Ron was arrested. One thing has to be said clearly here, and it is the sort of thing that gets lost when a story moves quickly. An arrest warrant is not a conviction. It is a court agreeing that there is enough to hold someone while a case proceeds. Kim Sae Ron has been charged. He has not been convicted, and this episode does not treat him as though he has. Now the part that makes this an episode rather than a headline. How do you establish that a voice was generated? Synthetic speech leaves traces. Real recorded audio carries the room it was recorded in. Reflections, background noise, the small inconsistencies of a human breathing and moving. Generated audio tends to be too clean, or clean in the wrong places, and its imperfections repeat in ways a real room never does. Edited screenshots are a different discipline. There, investigators are not listening. They are comparing. The message against the server record, the timestamp against... If this is your kind of story, the like button helps more than you would think. Subscribe and turn on notifications for the biggest ones as they break. Now, let us get back to it. Metadata, the rendering of the interface against how that application actually draws itself. Neither of those examinations is quick, and that is the structural problem this whole case exposes. Publishing takes an afternoon. Establishing that the published thing was fabricated took months. The damage lands in the gap. You can watch that gap closing in the commercial record, which is the most measurable part of the story. In July, in a damages case brought by the outdoor brand Eider against Kim Soo Hyun and his agency Gold Medalist, the claim was cut sharply, reported as falling from roughly 2.5 billion won to about 400 million. The Seoul Central District Court recommended the parties settle, and reporting noted the judges suggested withdrawing the suit, maintaining the endorsement agreement, and each side covering its own costs. Other advertisers were reported to be watching that outcome, which is the ordinary way these things resolve. Not with a dramatic vindication, but with claims quietly getting smaller. So here is the honest ledger. Verified, in the sense of being on the public record. Police stated the voice recording was manipulated using generative AI. Prosecutors sought a warrant. A court approved it and gave its reasoning. An advertiser substantially reduced its claim, and a court recommended settlement. Not settled, the criminal case itself. Charges are charges. A trial decides them, and one has not concluded. And deliberately outside this episode, the original allegation. Not because it is unimportant, but because a person who cannot respond is at the center of it, and because the material that carried it has been described by police as fabricated. There is a reason this case is being watched well outside Korea. Commentary in Thailand this year used it as a warning, and the warning is not really about celebrity at all. It is that the tools to manufacture convincing evidence are now cheap and fast, and the tools to disprove it are still slow, expensive, and institutional. A fabricated recording can reach millions in a day. A forensic finding arrives a year later to a much smaller audience, and it never fully catches up. That asymmetry does not care how famous you are. It is simply easier to be accused than to be cleared, and generative audio has widened the gap enormously. What to watch from here? 3 things. 1. The criminal trial, and specifically whether the forensic analysis of the audio is tested in open court. That would be the first time this kind of evidence is examined publicly in a Korean entertainment case, and how it is handled will set the pattern. 2. The remaining advertiser suits, and whether they follow Eater's direction. 3. And most consequential, whether any of this changes the speed at which platforms act on unverified material. So far, nothing suggests it has. The finding here was that the evidence was generated. The lesson is that it was believed first and examined afterwards. And for a year, believing was enough. Everything in this episode is attributed to police statements, prosecutors' filings, court decisions, and published reporting. Sources are in the description. I am Mochi Melon.